All right. It seems as if the clock has struck 3 p.m. I'm sure that some of our guests will still be joining in as we get into today's content. Hello, everybody out there. My name is Sam Jenks, and welcome to today's webinar, 3 procurement case studies showing positive ROI from SRM. I'll be your host for today's webinar. And in addition, I'm joined in the background by my trusty pal, my friend, my colleague, Richard Teuchler, our digital growth lead at Kodiak Hub. He's been instrumental in building today's content. He'll also then be helping us out by triggering some of the polls there in the back end. And as I typically am, I'm joined by my third and trusty pal, Charlie, the office dog. He's our co-host. He's opinionated. So if you hear him barking in the background, that's just him adding into today's content. Short about Kodiak Hub, for those that do not know about us, Kodiak Hub is a provider of SRM solutions and an SRM suite. Our solution allows procurement and sourcing teams just like you to be able to build smart and sustainable supplier relationships, utilizing a modular solution to be able to manage supplier information, risk, compliance, performance, and collaboration, all from one suite of solutions or the bespoke suite that our clients are looking to build up from the various modules. During the course of today's session, you, of course, will become more thoroughly acquainted with the Kodiak Hub solution. And, of course, we'll make sure to give you an understanding how SRM technology, like our own, has an impact on delivering positive ROI and to our customers globally, as well as potentially within your organization. With that said, on to the agenda for today's webinar. During these next 30 minutes or so, I will try to thoroughly cover the following points. The agenda is as such. We're in the midst of the introduction. We're going to transition into a section that's called No Pain, No Gain. We're going to talk then a little bit about building the brand behind the ROI, the brand behind SRM, and selling this into your organization. We're going to talk about 2 different models that are very simple to be able to present ROI within the organization, to be able to benchmark a bit. We actually have 3 customer case studies. I apologize, that's a typo on this particular slide, not 5. If you're interested in the additional 2, then reach out to me. We have those already built, of course, and we're going to have a live demo of Kodiak Hub solution as well to finish things off before our Q&A. Again, if you have any questions during today's session, feel free to just write those down in the chat bubble. We'll get around to them during the question and answer part of the session. So without any further ado, let's get directly into today's content. I want to start with a question. How will we see any ROI from supplier relationship management? And this is a common question that many of you might get if you're asking or seeking budget within your organization for the development of processes or technology. And I mean, without clear and impactful value levers that will really show the ROI of supplier relationship management, understanding how technology is going to impact CAPEX investments, right? It can be difficult, but especially in procurement. But the question is like, why is it so difficult within procurement, right? I'm sure that some of you are feeling this, and it's budget season. So I know everybody's sharpening their elbows to make sure that you get your cut of the budget. Well, this is what your board or your management team might be thinking, right? You've been getting by just fine with the ERP, the Excel, the homegrown sheets, the Outlook and SharePoint blend. Why would we need to add on any new technology into the stack? You're doing a great job. Just keep it up, right? The fact is, you feel the pain, which means that you would feel the gain. Unfortunately, your exec board, your management team, the investment committees that are sponsoring projects and programs related to SRM and SRM technology, they speak the language of gain, right? And during this session, we'll be trying our best to speak in the language of gain and giving you and your team enough ammunition that you need to have some concrete rhetoric, as well as then a deepened case really for developing an SRM program with people, processes, and technology within your organization. And most importantly, focusing on how it is that you could be able to entice this type of an investment in your organization. But before we get into it, I want to stop here just to take a temperature of the room really quickly and pause briefly for a poll. I want to ask how many of you believe your management team really truly understand the value of supplier relationship management? Go ahead and just respond in the poll now. I'm curious. How many of you believe that your organization truly understands the value? Your management team truly understands the value. I'm going to switch my screens here, and excuse me, I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen just so I can also be able to get an eye on the poll. It seems as if many of you in attendance here that have voted on the poll believe that it's a difficult sell. And I understand that. Please take the time to answer on the poll if you haven't done so. I know that there's 41 people currently in the session. It seems like we only have 20 votes. Please take the time. It's interesting to be able to get your feedback and understand, does your management team understand the value? And it seems like a lot of people believe that it's pretty difficult to sell, which I totally understand. I get that. It is a difficult solution to be able to sell and a difficult value to be able to sell. I want to make sure that I'm now sharing my screen here again, which I am indeed. And we're going to get back into the day's session. Well, hopefully we're going to be able to give you some concrete tips on how it is that you can, in fact, sell in SRM to your organization. And as all of you know, I want to make sure that we get the fair share of the technology budget. And it all starts with a solid business case. And I know that everyone here knows how to create a good business case, but the question is, are you looking beyond the financial figures? And we urge you to focus on something beyond the ROI calculations, which is in fact the brand of the business case, the brand of procurement, the brand of supplier relationship management. Anyone can answer the question, well, how much is it going to cost and how much will we make and save? Anyone can answer that question. Great business cases balance the hard analytical aspects with that really high flying, visionary, inspiring entrepreneurial spirit that is so important to get people excited and get those influencers that you need within the management team and the exec board on board for your investment. A good way to inspire investment is to ensure that your business case has a brand. As said by Simon Sinek, who I think is a marketing and a branding guru, really. And if you haven't seen his TED Talks, I would really suggest it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? Sinek has a theory that's called start with why. And this suggests that people are driven by purpose, as I'm sure many of us in this attendance are, and that it's easier to inspire and lead when keeping why in the focus, representing a motive or a purpose, right? Followed by the how, representing processes or methods, followed by the what, representing the result or the outcomes, the cost, the return, right? The majority of people and companies communicate from the outside in, right? The what, the how, the why, telling others what we do, how we do it, and then why we do it. He uses an example in one of his talks that I think is pretty inspiring, talking about how Apple communicates from the inside out, starting with the why. And that's also why potentially Apple has created a brand that has lasting impacts within our global economy. Paraphrasing his presentation, he says that messaging from Apple might sound something like this: everything we do, we challenge the status quo, and we believe in thinking differently. Our products are beautifully designed and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers also. In order to inspire investment, you need to sell why that investment should be made. So start thinking, where is the why? Additionally, you will, of course, need to show your management team, the board, the investments board, that you're lacking processes, resources, systems for managing supplier relationships is really leaving money on the table. So a good way to highlight ROI is to, of course, tie that ROI to the development of your supplier relationship management program and to recognizable challenges that are really blocking you currently from addressing strategic goals or different types of macro trends that might be out there. This particular model, as seen on screen, this is a illustrative table, and I'll leave this on screen for a moment. It's built up by Bureau. Um, they themselves highlight here how strategic goals can really help you, as well as macro trends, right? Can really leverage your business case in something that your board will be able to understand, right? It simply presents kind of what are the drivers or the challenges, as well as then the direct benefits linked to those particular things. You should aim to use a format something like this, right? That highlights that SRM is at the heart of risk management. It's at the heart of supply chain transparency and visibility and due diligence, compliance, ESG reporting, all of these things that are macro trends that you're going to be speaking the same language as your management team, as your board of directors, and also aligning it back to the core business strategy is always a good and advantageous idea as well. So we're curious with this, so much ROI is to be had from SRM. We know this, right? But I'm curious, what are you looking to gain in particular from SRM in your organization? If you take a second to just answer the poll that we have on screen now, I'm curious, what exactly are you looking to gain from SRM? So let's toggle over to the poll here. I know you guys can do better than that. Please take the time to respond on the poll. Looks like only half the people in attendance responded on the last poll. All right. It's a pretty even dead heat, it seems here. So it seems like operational efficiencies, big elements, supplier performance management, but it seems like all of the above, which is not surprising. I mean, if you can get all of these things out of an SRM program, out of an SRM solution, then obviously that SRM program or solution is really doing a great job. So I totally understand with being so. So we'll try and hopefully give you some more tips today how it is that a solution like ours has helped other clients of ours to be able to make some of those leaps within those different areas. Richard, if you don't mind toggling back on the presentation as well, we'll get back into this. Another awesome method to highlight ROI is really to benchmark, as we see here, according to Vantage Partners survey results. It's really good to be able to compare yourself to other businesses, average performers, best in class. As we see here, this is a highlight of the different investments that have been made and correlated with SRM and correlated back to a greater ROI. I mean, seen on screen here are results from SRM program benchmarking from back in 2019, which involved in particular 950 respondents representing more than 500 companies from across various industries. And the majority of these companies also belong to the revenue group between 1 billion to 10 billion US dollars in revenue. So with that in mind, we also though see that, of course, best in class organizations have made investments in a program and seen vast differences in their X's on return as well. And those have taken a real bet on SRM, and not just in the technology, right? But in people, processes, and skills have really reaped the benefits as well. What we also see, though, is, of course, some of those large investments within the best in class are really in the people, right? Again, we say it as ourselves, and I mean, we are a technology provider in the SRM space, but the fact is that we are a vessel, right? We are an engine for you and your team to get to your end destination, which is smarter and more sustainable supplier relationships. You as the user always need to be in focus. And good people and good process can never, stand alone without good technology, but good technology can't do it on its own either. So I'm curious, what exactly is the biggest gap in your SRM program today? Is it the people, the process, or the technology? So let's take a time there. Or the strategy. But let's take the time there to pause for a poll really quickly and see, what is your biggest gap? Is it people, process, technology, or strategy? Please take the time to answer on the poll now. Toggle over here to see what the poll results are. Very interesting. It seems as if it's emerging. And please take the time to be able to vote if you haven't already. What is your biggest gap in your SRM program today? Is it people, process, technology, or strategy? Very interesting. It's obvious then that the people is not the biggest concern, but rather processes and technology, which transitions, of course, quite nicely back into the last leg of the presentation for today before we get into the demonstration. So, Rich, if you don't mind toggling back on the presentation. And without further ado, I would like to now take you through and present 3 procurement case studies that show exactly how you can see positive ROI from SRM. Starting with case study number 1, our first spotlight, HL Display. And for those of you that don't know HL Display, HL Display helps retailers and brands around the world to create attractive and profitable in-store environments. Their organization works in places such as Sweden, Poland, China, and the UK, combined with sales units across more than 20 countries. If you're in the retail space, you might already be working with HL Display. Maybe you'd like to work with HL Display. The challenge that HL Display faced was a pretty normal one, right? Something that I'm sure that many of you that are in this session today will understand. They wanted to save time on supplier due diligence, risk assessment, and overall supply chain compliance. The group purchasing team recognized that supplier due diligence was a pillar to help them meet their sustainability goals. With close to 1,000 suppliers and much of their supplier data localized and distributed in a landscape of ERPs or on individuals' hard drives, like in spreadsheets, notes, emails, so forth and so on, HL Display had a really tough time leveraging their supplier data in the most efficient way possible, right? Information was scattered, and SRM processes required heavy manual work, which meant that supplier due diligence, at the core of what they were trying to do on the entire supply chain, sometimes took as long as 8 to 10 months to gain clarity. So by the time that they were ready to report, it was time to start the chain and the cycle all over again, right? And the data that they were having on hand was old, simply. HL Display chose to adopt Kodiak Hub's SRM solution to centralize data, onboard, and then also collect their supplier data, getting HL Display out of their localized notes and spreadsheets into a consolidated platform where their purchasing team gained access and visibility in order to really evaluate an empiric set of supplier data and information, a single source of truth, really. HL Display leveraged our solution for self-assessments, onboarding of supplier base, building customized templates with our drag and drop capabilities within our solution, our robust rating methodology, and our global library of international and industry best practices. The content that sits within the solution also help them to be able to address areas where they didn't already have expertise in the organization, and is also continuing to help them to address different types of budding aspects. Our library has things related to CSRD, CSDDD, LKSG in the German, or DACH region, addressing Transparency Act, so forth and so on. So they were able to stay up to speed with legal as well as an industry-specific requirements and covering themselves within their DD activities. Really, HL Display went from working 8 to 10 months to create, send out, gather, and report on their supplier self-assessments and their supply chain compliance down to just 3 weeks from start to finish. So it was a great gain for them in operational efficiency, but also in the insights, the actual, sourcing insights that they were able to gain on the back end. Though the application of better SRM software, the team really not only gained those operational efficiencies, but they were able to show the top management in the organization that here now we have a compliant supply chain. And this, of course, helped them not only within their upcoming audits that they had, but also to be able to meet their sustainability goals, which I'm sure that many of you have within your organizations as well. Case study number 2, Midsona. Midsona develops, produces, and markets products in a variety of different channels like FMCG, pharmacies, health stores, so forth and so on. They have a focus on sustainable and health products. Currently, they're a leader in the Nordic region, and they also are fast growing in Netherlands as well as in the DACH region as well. The challenge, well, Midsona were working with a lot of different suppliers across the world, so a very diverse supply chain and a decentralized bit of processes for managing their suppliers. Each individual region operated very decentralized and had their own way and their own responsibilities for the way that they were managing their supplier base. And this in turn led to inefficiencies when they were trying to onboard new suppliers or map out supplier risk, performance, and also when it came to baseline compliance or any type of conducting on-site audits, right? The requirements differed from country to country, business unit to business unit. And in 2019, they made a strategic choice in their organization to start managing all of their suppliers within a central global team. And doing so, of course, to be able to enhance their sourcing and quality insights. They knew that they had to get a better grasp on all of their data and information, and they wanted to get it all in one place, of course, where all of the regions were still have that flexibility and autonomy that they needed, and the trust that a local business unit demands, but also that they had that central governance that was most useful for them as a global organization. The solution really, with the help of Kodiak Hub, Midsona was able to create that fine balance between governance and trust, creating frameworks in the regions that they could be able to collate data, which really enhanced that central group visibility. The collaboration tooling also made it a lot easier to follow up internally, but also with suppliers whenever data or documentation was missing. That communication, those corrective actions, those nonconformities, very simple to be able to keep up with, and also alerting those suppliers as well. The supply chain risk mapping also gave them a 360-degree view, understanding not only contextual risks, but risks related to their own suppliers. And also it really is the compilation in our scorecards that gave them this 360-degree view that they needed to be able to follow up on risk and performance within their supplier base. And the result really was that the adoption was great in Midsona. They experienced that they had greater collaboration, both internally, but also with their suppliers, but also between roles. Their quality and purchasing team are working closer than ever before. They are aligned on their KPIs, and they're driving forward business and supplier relationships together, right? Understanding one another's needs and challenges. They've seen that their everyday supplier management work is more efficient, but most of all, of course, they've gained a significant amount of insights and been able to detect risks in their business. And of course, being in the business of food that they're in, it is a risky business, and they have a lot of different types of requirements on them by their clients and by their end consumer, of course. And we were able to help them not only visualize some of those risks, but also mitigate some of those risks. And really, it's all about knowing your supplier. Just in the same way that the KYC discipline has existed for years and years, the KYS discipline is what we're trying to help our clients to achieve. Moving into the last case study of today's session, Swisslog. Swisslog is part of the KUKA group. It's a global company with Swiss roots. It's one of the world's leading logistics automation companies. They also deliver different types of robotic solutions and logistics automation solutions. They have over 2,400 people employed, over 20 different locations globally. They also then have their headquarters in Switzerland. The challenge that they faced was that their current solution that they had in place for SPM, so supplier performance management and supplier evaluation, was too manual and too complex, right? It was too process-oriented and overly complex within its building. They needed something that was flexible, quick to onboard, and easy for the team to not only learn how to use, but also to start using quickly and adopting quickly. And in parallel, they also needed a system that could be integrated with their internal data sources and their supplier audit management. A common need, right, to pull data from various existing solutions and sources into one dashboard. It's a struggle that everyone faces. So they needed to get that supply chain data in one view, and they didn't have 2 years to spare, right? They wanted to get a solution in place quickly to be able to address the upcoming legislations that they needed to be compliant with, but also that they wanted to be up and running within the team faster to be able to gain those operational efficiencies quickly, right? Swisslog's solution really came in two primary waves. Wave one was that Swisslog had 6 different main sources of data, which they wanted to integrate into one platform in one view. And they did so in our solution. So it was SAP's procure to pay, their vendor master data, their POs, their invoices, their supplier contracts and frame agreements, which were located in SharePoint. And then also there's some of their sustainability and ESG assessments, the ones that they're not doing in their self-assessment module in Kodiak was in Integrity Next, while also their financial data was in Dun & Bradstreet. So they had a lot of data they wanted to collate, and they did so in our platform. And with the versatile API, kind of interfacing that our solution has, we were able to give them that central view. Wave two was really that they needed to solve the process headaches on performance evaluation and audit management. They needed to build a smart yet simple data-driven rating process, which suited their unique performance needs. So they needed that flexibility within the platform, but also the configurability within the platform and the KPI management, which we helped them to create a process flow with underlying criteria, resulting in a flagging system and a rating system, which made their data sources much simpler for people to be able to get automated segmentation and kind of insights pushed to them rather than having to go find things, so that they're able to see the development of a supplier relationship, their risk and performance profile in an overview, and also really clearly segmented. The previous data that they had from supplier performance ratings and audit management in Excel, it can now be transferred into our solution into a sleek overview, and those dashboards help them to be able to really drive efficiencies. They made significant leaps in automating supplier performance evaluation, but additionally, the reduction of manual tasks has saved their team massive amount of time, which is now pushing them towards the right things, towards the risks and opportunities, so that they're not having to go and search for them. And this helps them to be able to understand which suppliers that they should be collaborating with, and the ones that are going to really foster, development and innovation within their organization. So there you have it, 3 case studies that show positive ROI from SRM. So what exactly have we learned? Well, at Kodiak Hub, we typically speak about ROI being driven by technology in 3 dimensions with those customers that utilize Kodiak Hub solution. And this starts, of course, a journey towards smart, sustainable, and also strategic supplier management. These are the 3 value levers that you should also aim to try and pull on when it is that you are presenting the business cases to your organization. We think that this is a great way to be able to break things down. It starts with strategic value, right? At a strategic value, SRM can enhance top-line value, but it can also help to avoid shareholder loss, which we've seen can be able to prevent or gain 1% to 3% of market cap losses, right? When you're addressing those types of reputational risks in your supply chain, but also able to have those different types of performance-driven focuses. The tactical level, right? SRM improves your negotiation power. It lets you walk into the room with just as much insights as the sales team on the other side is going to have on your business. And it allows you to control spend, total cost of ownership, which is, of course, can lead to spend savings, but also allocation of spend with the right suppliers, right? Sustainable suppliers, quality suppliers as well. And the last bit is, of course, at the operational level. Time saved, operational excellence, automation of tasks. I mean, this is going to lead to OPEX, optimization. And I mean, who doesn't want to save time on their day-to-day activities? And in the spirit of not just talking about it, but also being about it, I would like to now switch over my screen to provide everybody in today's session that has an additional 5 to 10 minutes with a quick little demonstration of the platform. To those that do not have time over the half hour, I appreciate you attending. But we're going to now switch over to some practical examples of our solution. And again, it's just going to be a quick little 5 to 10 minute flyover of the solution. We're not going to go deep into any of the functionality. So I do want to be able to pause for the last poll, which, Richard, if you don't mind just issuing really quickly, please respond yes or no if you're interested in receiving a demonstration following, and we'll make sure that somebody gets in touch with you with a calendar link so you can book at a time that suits you best for a deeper demonstration of the platform. So please take the time to just quickly respond on screen now if you're interested in getting a deeper demonstration of the platform, and we'll make sure that somebody reaches out to you to be able to do so. So good stuff. I think then that I will share my screen here again. And I believe, yep, my screen is being shared. Super. Let's just take a quick little view around the solution. Welcome into the platform. Here at a glance, we can be able to see our suppliers around the globe, understanding contextual country risk driven by our safe source rating. Here we can also be able to see individual suppliers and dive into those individual supplier scorecards directly from this particular interface. Those supplier scorecards can also be navigated to via the supplier list overview. This supplier list overview allows us to quickly add new supplier data, export data, import data, but also to keep different types of data lists. So as we see here, we can be a category manager or a supplier, a category or segment responsible. So I can, at the click of a button, quickly pull forward a grouping of different suppliers with a pre-saved list of different headers as well. What we also see is that there's the capability to be able to edit these different headers as we see fit. And we can also be able to directly see not only data, but notes associated with these individual suppliers. We can also filter directly from this particular interface as we see fit to be able to update the data properties and the lists that we have in view. The list overview is getting you out of your spreadsheets, getting your data into a solution that's more malleable, allowing you to be able to spot the risks and opportunities fast, but also to be able to address your supplier lists as you see fit. The impact section, which we're not really going to get around to much of today, but this is where you're going to be able to manage your assessments, audits, and evaluations. This is where you're going to be able to build up templates. You're going to be able to run campaigns and also get back reports. The beauty of these reports is that you're going to be able to quickly spot who's doing well or who's doing poorly within different campaigns. You can also, of course, dive deeper into these individual reports as you see fit and better understand how your individual suppliers are doing in their self-assessments, in their audits, in their performance evaluations. And the beauty is that this is, of course, a rating methodology at the core. So you're not just getting back data and documentation, you're also going to be getting back directly sourcing insights that can help you to manage your relationship with your suppliers in a smarter fashion. So if I then quickly search for a particular supplier, don't see that supplier there. Let's just jump into another supplier. We then will see our suppliers here. As we see, we could be able to see some different types of insights related to this supplier, related to their business practices, related also to their contextual risk or also their performance. We can also be able to see different types of data associated with this supplier, all in one interface, as well as any type of notes that have been taken or notes that we would like to leave. We see then the financial aspects related to this supplier, the media aspects related to this supplier, as well as then any ongoing actions, products and services linked to this supplier, as well as then documentation that might be interesting for us to be able to keep in our purview. So as we see here, the scorecarding capability gives you a control over your supplier base, all in one interface, in one sleek capability to be able to really quickly see, is my supplier doing well? Are they doing poorly? It allows us to focus our time in the right places, but it also allows us, of course, to be able to drive forward that supplier relationship as we see fit in that case. Giving the same tooling to you and your procurement team that sales and marketing teams have had for years and years within CRM solutions as well. The last bit, of course, is the intelligence. This is the kind of the last pillar of the platform, being the insights where data lies and scorecards and documentation lies. Impact, where you impact the relationship, managing assessments, audits, evaluations, or utilizing the collaboration space in the action space. But the last bit being then the intelligence section. And this is where you can be able to start dashboarding your data as you see fit. It's a very simple tool where you can be able to quickly go into an edit mode and build up different dashboards, whether those are, for example, as you see here, lists built upon different types of pivot tables where you can be able to create those and choose different types of visualization tools to show bar graphs, histograms, line graphs, different types of pie charts, so forth and so on. But you can also utilize the data at hand to spot risks or opportunities in larger groupings of suppliers. So here we can categorize our supplier base and make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges in this dashboarding. But we can also be able to focus on the right suppliers and address those suppliers that are of high risk or doing very well. This allows us to be able to spend our time in the right places. It also allows us to report much quicker. Compliance tracking, when you're gathering back data and documentation, well, it might be interesting for you to be able to know who in fact is compliant or not. Well, of course, you can be able to quickly draw forward that type of insight from these particular dashboards. Same thing with, for example, being able to utilize the rating methodology to see who's top and bottom performers within the different areas that we find to be most important. Well, we can be able to quickly spot who those individual suppliers are, address them as necessary. And then, of course, directly from this interface, we can, again, jump directly into those particular supplier interfaces, which is the supplier scorecards as well. So that was a quick little overview of the solution, giving you guys a flyover to better understand some of the aspects in which an SRM solution can be able to drive efficiencies, building a central hub for you and your team of your supplier data, documentation, communication, but also third-party risk, as well as then your compliance or due diligence aspects related to your supplier base and your performance aspects related to your supplier base. Not to mention also then collaboration, which can be managed directly from the same interface, keeping then all of your data, documentation, risk, compliance, performance, and your communication in one simple solution. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I thank everybody for taking the time to be able to attend today's webinar. What I would like to do now is then pause for a question and answer. So I'm going to toggle back on my screen. Please take the time, if you don't mind, to be able to quickly respond in the chat bubble. If you have any questions for the team at Kodiak, feel free to write those into the chat bubble now. Just wait a minute. So if anyone would like to ask any questions, please feel free to do so now. All right. I'm seeing that we're getting in some questions here. Great. It seems like plenty of these have been responded to already. Yes, Asha, of course, we can integrate in other systems. So great question. And thanks, Richard, for responding on this. SAP Ariba, absolutely. Other S2Ps, ERPs, as we responded there. In the last case study, can we elaborate on how Kodiak helped reduce manual tasks? I mean, in the case of Swisslog, which I believe was the last case study, they, of course, utilize our solution for supplier performance evaluation. One of the main gains that they've gotten is, of course, being able to collate data fast from various internal stakeholders, but also feed directly data, which is hard data, sitting within their ERP solution or other data solutions directly into our performance evaluations, allowing them to then quickly collate that data and then also visualize that data in our platform to be able to both balance the qualitative as well as then the quantitative aspects of supplier performance, which they've been able to do very quickly, both based upon the fact that our solution has an evaluation capabilities, which rolls out to internal stakeholders and really automates that send out capability, as well as then the responses. It's a sleek interface for them to be able to respond, but also we can grab data directly matched with the acceptance criteria that's predetermined for the KPIs in question into the platform for performance as well. So that's definitely one of the ways that we're able to help there. Phil, I see that there was a question here in relation to ESG-based info. A lot of suppliers publish material online. Does our tool capture that data? No, we do not capture that data. And of course, there is, of course, some solutions that are out there that help to be able to capture third-party data. Those are great solutions. The fact is that not every supplier will, of course, respond or have their data visible online. That's a simple fact. You're still always going to have your 20% that are top performing suppliers that are going to have their data out there. To be able to be truly compliant, though, you need to be able to address the rest of that iceberg. That's what I would say that a lot of our customers are utilizing our platform for. If, for example, they already have solutions in place that are more database focused, such as like Integrity Next or EcoVadis or solutions like that. And I see that there was a question from Peter Hall about the system monitoring delivery performance as well as quality. Absolutely. Both the hard and or the qualitative aspects can be monitored, OTIF, lead time, so forth and so on. The integration capabilities to third-party risk portals. I mean, our solution, while we have preferred partners for financials, media, sanctions, as well as then country risk, there is also the capability to be able to hook up with bespoke solutions, like I just named, for example, EcoVadis or Integrity Next. Or there was another question about Dun & Bradstreet. For example, you could be able to hook up with their data as well on our platform. So those types of more bespoke integrations are possible beyond, for example, the out-of-the-box preferred solutions that we already have. See, data input and MTCE is critical. Who does this? I'm not sure what we're asking about the question there of who does what, but data is inputted in the platform itself, ideally via an ERP or an API to a master data solution. So, I mean, that's really up to the starting point. When it comes to the rest of the data, it's either from third parties, suppliers, internal stakeholders, or again, pulling over from your existing solutions as well. But you can also just get up and running by a CSV upload. Give us the data today, you're up and running tomorrow. So that's as simple as that. The results of the polls, I think that we could be able to share those, Frey, or Francois. So absolutely, let's look into that, and I'll converse with Richard about sharing that. As well as then how much information is pulled from ERP systems, and is it two-way? Yeah, we can push and pull data. Absolutely. Most of our clients have push and pull to make sure that there's data quality across those two solutions as well. An address change in our solution would definitely then push back in. So you can either set those up that at any point in the data change that it's a sync, for example, or you can set it up based upon triggers. So for example, when a supplier is approved, well, then it triggers the data between one or two of the others, one solution or the other. That's really determined to what it is that you guys want to have as an integration. And those cadences as how often the data is being pushed and pulled, that's again up to the client to be able to define in that case. We typically suggest every 24 hours. Doesn't seem as if there's any other questions in the current session. What we'll do, though, one more time is to just ask if anybody wants to be able to respond on the poll. It seems as if it's still active. If you would like to see an extended demo in the coming weeks as to what it is that you now know, then please just tick the box, yes, please, that you would like to get a demonstration, and we'll make sure then to reach out to you and provide you with that demonstration as well. I see that there was another question that came in, such as price lists and alike on, so documentation or data, like metadata related to suppliers, price lists, payment terms, POs, so forth. I mean, all the invoices, all those things can be stored in the platform as well, either linked to the supplier or directly back to the product or service that you're being provided with as well. So thanks for the question, Bennett. It doesn't seem, though, like there is so many more questions rolling in. So with that, we're going to close off and end the broadcast. I appreciate everybody's attendance. We will, of course, be sending out as well a recording to the session. So if you missed anything, you can reference back. If you'd like to share it, then you can do so as well. And we look forward to seeing you more in future events as well. Thank you so much for your attendance.